Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to Wasteland Talks, my weekly talk show where I talk about whatever the hell I want. And this is a spoiler talk. This is coming out a couple weeks after release because, I'm not that kind of asshole. I don't want to spoil things for you. And unlike many, many people, which is why I have to watch Marvel movies literally opening night because people are terrible. The one time I didn't, Multiverse of Madness, saw it Friday night instead, YouTube. But we're going to be talking about Deadpool and Wolverine. And there was only one person that I felt like would be appropriate to bring on here for a Marvel spoiler review, and that's Mr. Marvel himself. Rod Liptrot, thank you so much with his In Feige We Trust shirt on.
And my
Perfect.
Iron Man water bottle. That's right.
There you
I'm
go.
and my Marvel hat. I'm ready to go. I'm actually a DC fan, Shane. Low key. I'm just kidding. No, I appreciate you having me on, Shane. I'm looking forward to this. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So I've done an actual review for Deadpool and Wolverine. I've written one. You want to read that? You want to watch that video with my general thoughts on the overall film? Go do that. I figured this would be a fun time to go through the film and talk about it as it goes. And starting off with, wow, what a way to start this movie. As we do get the new Marvel logo with Deadpool in it. So that
Yep.
was fun. And we see Wade going up to the grave of Logan from Logan, digs him up, realizing that he is legitimately dead and it is a skeleton with adamantium on it. And then a bunch of TVA agents show up. And this scene is the perfect encapsulation of this movie because there are plenty of quips, as you
hmm
know, Deadpool has to. The whole reference to Logan and defacing the core of Logan by using it as a weapon against all these TVA agents. It's brutal. There's some moments with those adamantium claws, especially shoved up somebody's ass, that was like, oh my, this
hmm
is a lot. You get all the bloody, gory, crazy slapstick action that you expect out of, Deadpool. And along with it, we get Bye 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 from NSYNC, along with a choreographed dance number from Deadpool himself to it, cutting back and forth between him slicing and dicing and then him doing the whole choreography to Bye 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 that NSYNC actually had when they performed this song. So, Rod, how are you feeling? What were your thoughts when we watched this opening scene to set the stage for this movie?
Shane, there is only one opening sequence in the MCU I enjoyed more than this, and that was the opening sequence of Infinity War with the introduction of Thanos. That is
Yep.
the only opening to an MCU movie I like more than this. And ask me again tomorrow, my mind might change. This was the perfect way to open up this movie. Perfect way of introducing Deadpool to the MCU. Really
Mhm.
introducing this is the movie you're gonna be getting for the next 2 hours. So buckle up and
Yep.
enjoy. And there's a joke before the shenanigans even start about Gossip Girl, which I just oh my God, I lost my mind with that joke was so funny. Uh, I don't want
Oh
to repeat it
man.
on here just in case I don't want you to get flagged or anything, but that joke was hilarious. Yeah, this was perfect. It was brutal. It was very quippy. It's very nonsensical, but it fits the character and it fit the mood of the entire film.
Well, and we're at the point where we have no idea why this is happening,
Right.
like why Wade is trying to find Logan, and realizing that, which also confirming that Logan and like all the X-Men films, as we probably could have guessed, this is all the same specific universe. So
hmm
this is it was the Fox X-Men universe. Deadpool's a part of it and has been a part of it. And then we have the aftermath of Deadpool 2, where, he did some shenanigans and changed some things in particular. And we really have this setup of like, Wade's happy, kind of. He has his friends and family, which we have, you have Defender, you have Sugar Bear. I will not be referring to him as Peter at all during this review. He is only Sugar Bear. Uh,
To me,
like,
He's Peter Pool to me. He is now officially Peter Pool.
oh, we will get to Peter Pool at some point. Just for the second he called him Sugar Bear in Deadpool to him, like that's it. I can't see Rob Delaney ever without being like it's Sugar Bear. You have Colossus. You have Negasonic Teenage Warhead. You have Yukio's like who's just as charming as ever. But unfortunately, Wade's single,
Yeah,
and it's sad. It's really sad. And he gave up being Deadpool, and he's working at a car place selling
with a toupee.
cars with a stapled in toupee, working with Sugar Bear, selling cars, doing a very bad job at it, to be
Horrible job.
very vulgar, horrible job. Which the fact that that came back, his hatred for one particular car came
Yep.
back later was ridiculous. But the whole entire crux of this is Deadpool's never really made a difference for the greater good.
Right.
And they have the scene where he tried out for the Avengers,
I love that scene.
which also the reference to the fact that it was Happy Hogan, John Favreau, instead of Tony Stark.
Perfect.
He's
Perfect.
like, he doesn't do these things anymore. Like cameos,
Interviews.
interviews, which also he doesn't make cameos, but he sure is going to be in other Marvel movies, which you can hear all about next week when Rod and I talk about coming attractions for the next phase of Marvel. Because Robert Downey Jr., Doctor Doom. But no, he's not in this. We get Happy instead. We rejected. They straight up like Happy rejects Deadpool because I don't think Happy believes he's doing it for the right reasons.
Right.
And
But he wasn't.
also, no. And nobody takes him seriously. And that's the big journey that Wade goes on in this film is trying to make a real impact, make a legacy, and actually mean something.
Mhm.
And I appreciate that journey, and this scene really sets that up, along with a whole bunch of like Easter eggs to like Cap Shield in the back and all these other little nuggets.
The suitcase armor from Iron Man 2.
Yep,
There's a couple. There's a lot to. Yeah, there's a couple Iron Man masks from previous films.
yep.
Um,
Rod will probably remember 4 times as much things as I do from this movie as I've watched this once, and Rod has watched it 4 times as of recording this.
and I'm seeing it again this afternoon.
So Rod will keeping up them numbers. You got to beat your you have to beat your Fall Guy numbers from earlier this year.
Oh, I will. I will. I will.
Nod will 100%. So we set the stage here, and we have the whole cocaine joke at his party because Feige won't let him have cocaine, and then the TVA shows up, and we get our pegging joke that we saw in the trailers, and
Mhm.
he gets whisked away to the TVA, right? So we meet Matthew McFadden's Mr. Paradox, who, spoiler alert, as this is a spoiler talk, turned out to be one of the main antagonists of the movie. Which I thought this was a very interesting development that because when was the last time we saw the TVA? Loki
Loki season
season
two.
two.
Yep.
What happened at the end? They completely changed what they're doing.
Hmm.
They have a new mission for the greater good. Do you think every single employee of the TVA is going to be down for this new approach? Nope. And that's exactly what this film is dealing with. And that's what we find. Mr. Paradox is a rogue agent.
Well, I mean, because Loki season 2 also set up this thing, Shane, of a civil war brewing between the TVA, and
Yep.
we, that kind of carries over into this movie.
Yep. And we have Mr. Paradox trying to create a MacGuffin machine, uh, something that is in end end worlds. And the whole setup is, as Matthew McFadden, in his natural accent, would like to tell us, that the whole plan for this is that we have anchor people in each of these universes, and the Fox X-Men anchor character was Wolverine,
Yep.
was Logan, which in real life he was. So, which no, I don't think anybody expected that were X-Men fans going into them making movies that Wolverine was going to be the crux of it all. Most overachieving Marvel character probably ever brought to the screen. But you have this setup where it's like, because Logan died, Deadpool's universe is going to have a slow, natural death. And Mr. Paradox is like, no, we're going to snip, snip 72 hours when my machine's ready. And there we have a movie. So that kind of sets the crux and the idea that Deadpool needs to find, feels like he needs to find a Logan to bring into his world. Before we jump into the carousel of Wolverines, is there anything like from that scene where we first like come to the TVA that you wanted to point out, Rod?
No, I just, I got this gives me this being me and the Marvel fan that I am. I got chills and stuff when they were showing footage from the previous Avengers films. So I'm not gonna lie, every screening that I've been to, I've done the whole salute back to Cap. And so when I told my mom yesterday, she looked at me, she's like, "Oh my God."
You're not my child.
Yeah.
And the running joke of the whole Thor holding Deadpool instead of Loki.
And everyone thinks that was actually new, but that's actually reused footage from the Dark World. People think that's actually like new, like something new they shot. I'm like, no, that's
it
from the Dark
does
World.
it does look like it's from the Dark World. It's
Dark
like the
World, yeah.
same exact shot.
Yep.
Which, if that turns out to actually happen in like Secret War, I think that would be absolutely hilarious. But no, it is recycled footage
Well,
from.
they very carefully, very wisely, they planted nuggets here and there of what's to come
Yes,
down the road.
this is the that's the interesting thing about this film. It closes a door and leaves open possibilities.
Yep.
It doesn't necessarily lead directly into anything.
Mm-mm.
It leaves the door open for possibilities, and
Yep.
that's all it needed to do. Um, but also, Deadpool gets his suit while being groped and harassed by the TVA
Well,
manager.
he's just your suit's amazing, but your tail is a predator. I love
Yes,
that line.
he has adamantium swords,
Yeah, very
which
cool.
is
Awesome.
very cool and comes in handy. And then we go on the carousel of Logan's where he's hopping through different universes trying to find the right Logan. And let's go through them. So we finally have Hugh Jackman as Short King Wolverine,
So funny. Oh my God. Shane, that was I died. I, that was
where
awesome.
like they have Hugh Jackman's face on like a 5'3" man. Was absolutely hilarious.
But it is comic accurate. Just saying.
It is comic accurate because apparently he's 5'3" in the comics. I don't think he'll ever be 5'3" for real in a movie. Because like maybe 5'7", 5'8", 5'9". But I don't think he's gonna be 5'3".
Nope.
And then we have like Age of Apocalypse, like Wolverine with like in an apocalyptic alley beating shit out of Deadpool. He has like a long mullet and everything.
Yep.
That was cool. We have Patch, so him in his
I
slick
thought Pat was gonna
suit.
be played by somebody else. I did. I'm I'm,
There's a
I'm
lot
okay
of
that it
rumors that
wasn't.
it
Yeah.
was, but so let's just be clear, almost every single Wolverine in this carousel was indeed played by Hugh Jackman. We will get to the one who wasn't. We did legitimately get Old Man Logan with his shotgun and his duster and his cowboy hat and everything, which was pretty cool.
Honestly, when the hat lifted up, I was like, "Is that Clint Eastwood?" Because it looked a little bit like Clint Eastwood for
I
a second.
it's Rod, I would have lost my shit. If that actually was Clint Eastwood, I would have lost my shit. in the theater, but it was Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, were there any? Oh,
The one that fights the
Logan.
Hulk.
We have Logan fighting the Hulk in his brown suit, which was
Yeah.
really awesome. We'll probably see something like that again.
For sure.
Uh, Crucified Logan on a bed of skulls was hard. That one hard. Was dark.
Well, that's actually based off a comic book run, so it
Well,
makes sense.
all of them are.
Right, yeah.
They did their homework, Rod. They
They really did.
certainly did their homework. So we did get to see Logan in his brown and yellow suit, which was pretty cool. In the middle of fighting the Hulk. Who got the worst of it? Deadpool. Hulk definitely smashed him.
Yep.
And then and then so I knew it wasn't Hugh Jackman because this man was humongous.
Yep.
Like, and Hugh Jackman is humongous, but he's not this humongous.
No.
And I'm like, it's gonna be him, isn't it? And it turns around and it's Henry Cavill as the Wolverine,
You know what? It
which
would have been even funnier if they had played Superman music. That would have been icing on the cake right there.
so now is that disappointing that they used Henry Cavill as just like a random Wolverine variant? Not in the MCU where you could be whatever the hell you want to be in any universe. So imagining he's gonna pop up and something else as somebody else.
Yeah.
But this was so good, and he is a monster. Like where Hugh Jackman is like way too quote unquote way too big to be Wolverine.
Hmm.
This is like super Wolverine.
Oh yeah.
Like my God, that was hilarious. Did I forget anybody going into the Wolverine that we're gonna get for the
No,
rest
I
of the
think
movie?
you went through all of them.
Then we got Whiskey Dick of the Claws, depressed Wolverine, who is quote unquote the worst out of all the universes. Of course, Deadpool would find quote unquote the worst Wolverine. And honestly, I think that's such an interesting idea of, like I mentioned before, Logan was the most overachieving character, I think, in the history of film adaptations of comics. Because, like, if anybody who's just diving into X-Men watched X-Men 97, Wolverine's not the leader of the X-Men.
Nope.
Wolverine's not even close to the leader of the X-Men. He's just the bag who's hitting on the leader of the X-Men's wife and won't let it go. And he's kind of just a dick. But he's part of the team, kind of. And that's Wolverine. The fact that like Hugh Jackman's Wolverine became the face of X-Men is incredible. And you have Logan, the great that is the greatest Wolverine probably in all the Marvel multiverse. And that's the expectations that the audiences have of Wolverine. And what a meta commentary of like, we now have the worst. Not only does he have to live up to those expectations in the film, but it's thinking about the film is now presenting us with the complete opposite kind of Wolverine that we're used to. And I think one of the most interesting things, like, it's the thing that you could do with Deadpool. It's all meta in so many different ways. And that's such an interesting commentary having this Wolverine and also being the Wolverine who happens to walk around in his yellow and blue costume the whole entire time. So, because, he's going through a divorce.
I can't believe I put that joke in there. That was something.
And that wasn't the only divorce joke they put in there. We'll get to that, which also is the hilarious idea of like, well, that actually does make sense. Maybe Hugh Jackman's not fully back in shape and they just put him in the costume the whole time because he's totally going to be in the costume the whole entire rest of the movie, right, Rod? We will
Yeah.
never see him topless in this movie
Nope.
at all.
Never.
But we'll get to that. But this whole entire interaction, and then they get poofed by Mr. Paradox into the void, which that's where most of this movie takes place. Most of this movie is in the void. which just the fact that's the fact. There's so many possibilities
Yep.
that could happen in this movie because of that. And this gets nuts from the start. First off, did I ever think that I was going to have a Wolverine fight scene set to AC/DC? No, but I got it. And when the bell started hitting, I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna play Hell's during this fight. Because spoiler alert, I'm a humongous AC/DC fan and have been a huge AC/DC fan probably since like middle school. So the fact that Wolverine fights the AC/DC music is, and it wasn't Iron Man because
No.
Iron Man had AC/DC as his theme song. That fight was so cool because right off the bat, he was crawling at him like an actual animal. And I'm like, oh my
Hmm.
God, he's a Wolverine. And I guess, Rod, what were some of the things that really stood out to you in that fight?
I think it's more of just how the fight was shot. I was impressed with how Sean Levy directed that action too. I was really, really impressed because Sean Levy's not really known for action sequence. I know he had maybe a little bit of like the Free Guy, but
And
you
like
know,
real steel, probably.
yeah. But this is like, I mean, it's like comic book big
Yeah.
action spectacle. This is his first go around with it, and I was really impressed with how this fight was shot. That
Oh,
was my biggest takeaway.
I think the fighting in the actual action in this movie is really well done.
Yeah.
And I am a snob when it comes to action in movies. I am very nitpicky about stuff because the over editing of action sequences is the most
Mm,
annoying thing. But like this was brutal. It was intense. They didn't pull punches here.
no.
Like they're straight
No.
stabbing each other, shooting each other, and they're doing like they're trying to mutilate each other
Yeah.
because both of them are really upset. Obviously, like
Well, that second fight
Wolverine's
really is when they really let that anger come out.
yeah, but this was such a great way to like set the tone and like the adamantium swords on adamantium claw action. And
Hmm.
then like Wolverine just walking around with Deadpool's swords just sticking out of him and baby knife.
I like this baby knife.
Yeah. Which I think the best thing about this movie is the chemistry between the two of them because Deadpool is a really vulgar person with serious ADHD. Like serious ADHD. And when they made a joke about that later in the movie, I turned to my wife who has serious ADHD and I'm like, Deadpool is ADHD incarnate. And it's correct. And then this Logan is so grumpy
Hmm.
and so just done with it. But oh, that moment where he's like, let's effing go. And it starts like like lunging at him was just perfect.
Awesome.
And then we jump into Mad Max Fury Road, and have these bandits come in. Except we have a hero, Rod, a Chris Evans hero who's in blue. And
Not
I'm
the one
like,
we expected though, or at least the one Wade expected it to be.
when he said flame on, I lost it. I'm like, it's Johnny Storm.
So he
And
was one of the cameos I was expecting. I was like, I'm expecting at least one or two from the Fox Fantastic Four people to show up in this
well,
movie.
and once they tricked us, they admitted that they leaked fake set photo stuff. Like that thing picture definitely was a leaked photo that they put
Hmm.
out there to trick people. But no, I'm not surprised at all Chris Evans was in this movie because of Free Guy.
Yep, that was the other thing.
Yeah,
Hmm.
like that was pretty obvious. But the fact that he's Johnny Storm, that was so much fun. What happened to him? We're one out for Johnny because he
Well,
got beat skinned.
that whole Johnny sequence from the time we see him to the time he gets brutally murdered
Yes.
was so great, and it was I laughed so hard when he first starts cussing, and Deadpool's like, "You're not." That's not how Captain America talks.
No,
Oh, that's not Captain America.
and the fact that like this is Johnny Storm without a filter because this movie's rated R
Hmm.
was like this is exactly how Johnny Storm would be. Johnny's an asshole.
So do we think this is a Johnny that we know from those Fantastic
Yes.
Four movies? Okay, so
Uh
that's yeah.
I'm 100% convinced it's just he was allowed to curse now. Um he has that vibe. The that running gag of Deadpool telling on him and us at the end of the movie, after the credit scene, proving that they're on tape, that all the horrible things that Deadpool said Johnny said about Cassandra Nova were true
True.
and actually came out of Chris Evans' mouth. I'm just like,
Awesome. Perfect.
it's like I can hear those things coming out of Ryan Reynolds' mouth.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
very interesting hearing them come out of Chris Evans' mouth. But the thing, Chris Evans played assholes in everything until Captain America. So
Yeah,
that was,
then like after Endgame, he's like, I'm playing a douchebag again. I don't care. Knives
yeah,
out,
jumped right into Knives Out.
the gray man. So he's just been
Yep,
playing douchebag after douchebag.
yep. And he got to do it here. And then trying to just think about all the cameos of all of these villains. So obviously we have Pyro, who's not a cameo. He's a legitimate character in this movie.
Right.
And when he zapped all the fire out of the Human Torch, I'm like, damn. They're like, damn. We get Tyler Mane back
Yeah,
as Sabretooth,
for 2 seconds.
who's just whoosh, head off. Deadpool holding the head around was hilarious. We
Yep.
get Toad, who cameo, but like you see Toad a decent amount at points in the movie. He's
Hmm.
at least really noticeable. And trying to think, we'll get Juggernaut.
Yeah.
From what I understood, they asked Vinny Jones to come back, and he declined because he's like, I would love to. It sounds like a lot of fun, but like I'm too old to deal with getting in that suit because like it's so funny seeing them bring back the actual muscle suit Juggernaut compared
Yep.
to the CGI Juggernaut from the Deadpool 2 movie. And because it's so ridiculous.
Yes, it
It's
is.
ridiculous. I didn't think they could get Juggernaut right until I watched Deadpool 2, and I'm like, this is probably what they should have done in the first place. But it was like over a decade later with better computer uh effects. We get Deathstrike was there, the Russian, like they had a
Hmm.
guy in a red and yellow striped tank top. Um Azazel was there. I don't know if it
Yeah.
was actually Jason Fleming or not,
I
but
don't.
Azazel was there.
Caesar was there. I don't think it was though. It didn't look like him.
No. So they did get the actress who played Deathstrike from X2 to come back, which from what I recall watching it, they didn't really put a spotlight on her like at
No,
all.
no.
So
And then about Psylocke back too. I was like, I'm actually surprised they didn't bring back Olivia Munn
well,
for
I
that.
don't yeah, I'm not like Psylocke was barely in it.
Yeah.
There's just a couple of shots. He had one significant thing that she did in a scene later we'll get to. But like obviously you have the big dead body of Giant Man that they're in and everything. And then we have Cassandra Nova, which are other antagonists. I think Emma Corrin did a great job,
Yep. Agreed.
very charismatic, really creepy. The whole finger,
So weird. So creepy.
uh, uh that was disturbing.
Oh
In
yeah.
like an effective way. But I'm just like, that's disturbing. And just feeling like fingers. And it really worked for what the film was going for there. I think how she fits into everything as she felt abandoned. Like like Sandra Nova never felt like accepted. And the void is the only place she's ever had real power here. And that's such an interesting twist that the TVA basically just leveraged her to like get rid of people.
Well, I mean, it reminds me of what they did to Sylvie.
Hmm.
You know?
Absolutely. And it's like TVA, we're doing all kinds of dark shit.
Yeah.
And, the whole Mr. Paradox and Cassandra Nova situation in this movie, he double crosses her and he gets, oh God, I was about to say he got fingered. Oh,
No.
no, it's just like, and yeah, her hands were all up in his brain. And he deserved it. Which that's the thing. Cassandra Nova's an interesting character in this movie because like possibility of redemption there.
Hmm.
And I appreciate like the heart that gets brought into it when Logan's like, if Charles knew, he would have done something.
Yeah.
And because he would have. That's the Charles Xavier we know. And instead, Sandra Nova just has this crazy empire in the void. Basically, you die or you work for Cassandra Nova. And it's so interesting that she's like, I've seen plenty of Deadpool, but this is my first Wolverine. I'm like, well, I think the plenty of Deadpool is going to come back at some point. And boy, does it.
Oh man.
The fact that she's so transfixed on getting a Wolverine is such an interesting idea because it would make sense that like Wolverine never would wind up in the void, would he?
Mm.
No. And we do escape. And I guess our first other Deadpool we meet is nice Canadian Deadpool, which is Ryan Reynolds with a Ariana Grande like top
Hmm.
top ponytail, and he's super nice and Canadian and has dog pool. Mary Poppins. What an ugly dog.
Ugly, ugly dog. And yet a little bit adorable too, Shane. I'm not gonna lie. That dog had its moments where I was like, this dog adorable.
Rod, there's a thin line between ugly dog and adorable dog. And Mary Poppins walks across that line. And the fact that Wayne becomes so transfixed on becoming this dog's new papa is hilarious. And
One of
then
my
you gotta get
favorite jokes from that was when they get to the car and he's like, talking about, trying to get the dog to himself. It's like, Nice Pool's like, what kind of things would happen to me? Many things. He just smiles, and Nice Pool's just like, some smiles to a little concerned. Just
Nice Pool is such an interesting choice to have here, and just being Ryan Reynolds is even more
yeah,
hilarious. And then we get in the car, and boy, do we have a fight. Because this was the most unexpected thing because in the movie for me, because Logan goes off
yeah.
on him and just calls him out. And it's like, says, no wonder she broke up with you. No wonder the Avengers rejected you. And just like, bam, bam, bam. What do we expect out of Deadpool? Flips.
Yeah.
And Deadpool's just like, we're going to fight now. And I'm like, oh shit.
He struck a
And
nerve. He struck a
yep,
nerve there.
struck a nerve. And that's the crux of this movie and their dynamic. And obviously, this is the big turn, but they have a brutal, bloody fight in this car. With also them kicking the radio and it switching off. I really wish that they left the greatest showman,
Yeah.
as the music that was playing when they were fighting, because that would have been hilarious.
Oh
Because
yeah.
that was the I tried my best to not look at the playlist that got released because, like, why would you do that? Spoiling things. The one thing I got spoiled for me was that The Greatest Showman was on. I'm like, please tell me they're gonna have a PT Barnum variant just randomly at some point in this movie. It was not that. It was a very fleeting moment of they had part of the soundtrack on the radio, But that fight was nuts.
Oh
That
yeah.
fight was so brutal and bloody. And this is what happens when you have two people who realistically could not die in many ways. Just going to town. And the fact that it lasted a day, like a literal day, and then they just find them bloody the next day. And Deadpool's like wrapped with hilarious. Uh, and then Rod. This is where things get interesting because this is where we get taken to this hideout
Hmm.
and we get a bit of a parade of what you would expect are cameos. They're not cameos. These are legit characters in this movie. They get so first off, when Jennifer Gardner walked through, my wife didn't recognize who she was, and I was like, "It's Lynch."
Well, so they announced that casting like last year, and I was watching the movie. I was like, isn't Jennifer Garner supposed to be in this movie? When the heck is she popping up? Oh, there she is. Okay.
Which I think the thing that I love most about this arc of the film is that this film is all about legacy. Deadpool, his legacy is that he doesn't care, he's not serious, and doesn't fit a part of a team or make a greater good. The Logan that we have in this movie is being crushed under the legacy of other Logans.
Hmm.
And we see how he struggles with that and what he failed to do in his own universe. We get Elektra, who was so cool that she was in Daredevil. It was so cool that she was going to get her own movie, and it was utter trash. It was one of the worst movies in all of this pre MCU world. Was that Elektra movie? So she needs some redemption. Then we get Wesley Snipes, who, my God, how did they get him and Ryan Reynolds to make up to do this movie together? Because
I don't know, Shane.
notoriously hated each other on Blade
Hmm.
Trinity. Wesley Snipes torpedoed Blade Trinity in many ways. So Blade did not get a good send off. That movie
No.
was terrible. Here's his legacy. And then, Rod, when Gambit walks in and it's standing, I was like, now you have a character that never got to be. And so if anybody pays attention to like really pays attention to like Marvel movies and stuff like this movie was supposed to happen for years. We were
Hmm.
supposed to get a Channing Tatum Gambit movie. And the fact that he shows up in extremely accurate Gambit costume, the hair and everything, and the accent, and
Oh my God.
the amount of jokes for his Creole accent that we get.
Like, I'm trying to put this very nicely. Who's your dialect coach?
It's that because that was one of the things that Tatum struggled to get the accent down, which was one of the problems with getting the movie up and running. I'm like, they're digging in. And but like this Gambit was so awesome. And then the last one, it's we get X-23. And also that made me really happy to find out why she got spoiled in the trailer.
Yeah,
Was
that was
that so
awesome.
she could be at the premiere? And also the marketing team wanted to sell some of the heart of the movie. And her legacy is she didn't get to have one. She had an amazing setup and then never got to go anywhere. I feel like this a lot of people aren't giving enough credit to this was done very specifically. Like these
Yep.
characters were chosen for a reason.
Yep.
And these characters got to have something that they never got to have before. And it really hit it hit almost as hard as that divorce joke when they brought up Daredevil.
That's okay.
Which I'm like, damn,
That's
damn.
that. That's probably in my top three of the funniest jokes in the entire film. That joke got me good, Shane. I died. I literally wanted to follow my scene, just die on the floor, like just laugh on the floor because I that was
Which
hilarious.
obviously there was Daredevil, and it very obviously was Ben Affleck
Right.
who has died in this. The one that I wish that we got, I so Bob, if you could add a fifth person to that team, who would you add?
If I could add a fifth person to that team, oh man, I don't know, Shane.
While you think about that, I wanted Thomas Jane Punisher to pop up so bad. That would have made me
yeah, that'd be a good
so
one.
excited. It's either that or a redemptive Lieb Schreiber Sabretooth popping up.
I wouldn't mind seeing Lee Schreiber. I gotta think on that one, Shane. That's a tough
Because
question.
like they made some really good choices, but like that was the one I really wanted Thomas Jane
You know
Punisher to
what?
pop in.
I take that back. Because they introduced Johnny, I wouldn't have mind seeing the rest of the Fantastic Four team show up.
Yep. If I had to pick one of them, I wish it was the Thing. I wanted to see Michael Chiklis back
Oh, that
in
was awesome.
full, just styrofoam or whatever costume that was. That would have been great. My favorite part of those movies. I loved Ben Grimm in those. Um, and that's what's so beautiful about this film. Is like there are a lot of really bad movies that
Oh
these
yeah.
characters were in. And this gave them that moment. And when they showed up and did their thing, and we got to see Elektra. The fact that we got to see Gambit have very comic book accurate powers and people just blowing up.
And how exactly he had there were more than just cameos, right? He had really great moments in that fight
Yep.
that I'll remember forever, honestly. Um, like the biggest thing for me was the Blade. I in a million years would not have expected Blade to show up in this movie.
When
Um,
he's like, I never liked you. I'm just like, damn.
I thought you were tired. He's like, we're tired.
Like, no. The like when they're like when Punish it was one of Punisher's before he died. Which one? There were so many. Just like no.
There's never gonna be
Because
one Blade, Shane. I'm the only Blade. And then Deadpool just looks at the just looks at the
I like how they made a joke about the development hell that the new Blade movie has been in.
camera.
I'm like, oh no. What's the funniest thing? There was another Blade because there's a TV show.
Yep.
And people are speculating that that one black actor that's in the whole group of people in Cassandra Nova's place was that TV Blade. But like they never acknowledged that, so we can't tell if that was what that was supposed to be getting at. But oh my god, that team and when they show up and work, that sequence was so cool. And like I was half expecting an X-Force type moment to happen,
I
which
was
would have
too.
which would honestly would have really upset me.
Well,
But
that
like
would have pissed off a lot of people. Yeah.
this was perfect. And it was great action. They got a chance to shine. Oh my god, when X-23 literally slices Juggernaut off at the shins, I'm like,
Yeah.
which they definitely nerfed Juggernaut in this movie because, like, well, to be fair, they really nerfed Juggernaut in honestly any adaptation they've had of it
They
in the
have. Yep.
because like you literally can't stop him,
No.
like you literally can't. So, and he's also not a mutant, but we're not going to get into that whole entire thing. But those moments, that fight was so cool. And then you have the confrontation with Cassandra Nova and everything. And really finally getting like learning what happened to that Logan
Hmm.
and understanding that Logan was never the guy
Nope.
until he needed to be. And I'm just like, that hit.
Well, he showed up when it mattered.
Yep, he sure did. And they get out of the void. honestly thought all of them died when, big
Oh, Elias came in.
um
Yeah,
the, I forget what his name, the
Elias. Elias. Yeah.
Goliath. I just think it's the lost smoke monster. Uh,
From
so,
Loki season 1, episode 5.
yes. The fact that they specifically referenced that was hilarious. And then we're in the end game of the film because we wind up back in Wade's universe where this machine has been the whole entire time because apparently nobody gave a crap about it because it was a dying world.
Right.
So Mr. Paradox in his own section was making his machine, but Cassandra Nova wants a machine now because Cassandra wants to destroy all worlds except for the void, so she's in complete control.
That was my, if I have any complaint, Shane, that's my biggest complaint is
Mhm.
we just had this really awesome scene with her and Logan, and then she's back to I want to destroy everything. I'm like, come on.
True. Narratively, yes, because also it took like 2 minutes on screen. I feel like the the reason why I give it a little bit of pass is the reasoning why she gets that way again is because she realized she was betrayed
Right.
because Pyro tried to kill her. And the whole entire thing was she had a deal with the TVA and she felt betrayed and trauma. I'm going to quote my wife, um, paraphrase my wife. She usually says men will do anything but go to therapy whenever she sees like characters or people doing like ridiculous things out of trauma, and it's just like you just go to therapy. Um, People will do anything but go to therapy. Sandra Nova will destroy all other universes but won't go to therapy,
Yeah.
and that's basically this. And then and then Cassandra said that she had a team she put together. Rod, who was that team?
Deadpool corpse. All of them.
All the Deadpool. Which, like, I feel like every Deadpool seems to. Because here's the thing: why do characters wind up in the void by messing up
The
time?
timeline. Yep.
Who's a fourth wall breaking character that just doesn't give a crap and does whatever he wants?
Deadpool.
So it makes a whole lot of sense that almost every single Deadpool will end up in the void.
There's a
And
line that Kid Pool says that I was like, oh my God. And apparently that was Ryan Reynolds' daughter.
yeah, such the most hilarious part of that is that that's actually Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds' daughter. Um, so the Deadpool we get, obviously, Lady Deadpool, which was it had to be Blake Lively. There was no way
Yeah.
it wasn't going to be Blake Lively.
Yeah.
We have the was it the Deadpool kid or Cowboy Pool, who is Matthew McConaughey,
McConaughey. Yep.
which I'm like, wow, which Matthew McConaughey was originally going to be in a Marvel movie. Apparently, he was their original choice for Ego the Living Planet, which would have been great too, but like Kurt Russell was.
Honestly, that would have been a little distracting if it was Matthew McConaughey. I would have been a little bit too distracted.
I feel like Kurt Russell turned out to like I could believe Kurt Russell is Chris Pratt's dad,
Yes,
like
absolutely.
100%, and that's why that worked out perfectly. But no, we get Matthew McConaughey as a cowboy Deadpool. Of course, the flying head had to be voiced by Nathan Fillion,
Hmm.
because of course.
Had to be.
And then it made me so happy because in trailers they put in trailer music and it really gets you pumped up, and then it's not actually in the movie. When like a prayer started playing, I'm like,
Perfect. And the mask
and
comes on. I was like, oh my God.
and he pulled the mask over. I'm like, and of course Deadpool's like, I like your blowjob handles. Uh, I'm like, oh man. And because my wife turned to me and she's like, I thought he had a strange like bacon turtleneck through the whole entire movie. It's like, why doesn't that fit right? It's because he had a cow the whole time.
Hmm.
And he finally put it on. And that Deadpool fight, which also, let's pour one out for Nice Pool, who brutally gets murdered. Because apparently he's the only Deadpool who can't regenerate.
Of course.
And of course, he would bring up the proposal.
I like it too. I can the proposal. Just like look at the camera for like 2 seconds. Like, what the
It's
fuck are you
like
doing?
I could break the fourth wall too. The proposal. Wow. And then that fight,
Awesome.
that sideways shot fight of them just massacring every Deadpool was ridiculous. It
And they gave
was
us one of the best shots in Marvel history. Oh my Lord. With them
which was
coming out the bus.
yes.
Oh my gosh, man. I need
Uh
that framed. I need a wallpaper on my phone. Awesome shot.
that was such a cool moment. And then your stomach sinks because then they all start regenerating. You're like, oh wait a minute, they're Deadpool.
Yeah.
And then Rod, I'll let you do the honors. Who shows up to save the day?
Peter Poole shows up to save the day.
Stuffed, stuffed in Ryan Reynolds' costume. That makes me so happy that now Sugar Bear doesn't get his own Deadpool costume. He wants to be in Ryan Reynolds'
His
costume,
costume. Yep.
and there's roles. There's it's snug,
Mm-hmm.
but he might get some action though. He got the eyes of
What was it? 100B13? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That that was hilarious. I'm just like, you get some Peter,
Well,
Sugar
that
Bear.
pause too, when they first meet, when they're first talking to each other, she's like, mm. It's like that 10-second pause, and then Matthew McFadden goes, "The fuck is going on?" So funny.
So funny. And then it turns into like Sandra Nova's just like standing at
Yeah.
a machine kind of thing. And then you have the big sacrifice moment, which like there's a legitimate heart here. And then of course Deadpool kept walking back and
So
back.
funny.
I'm just like, oh my god. It's Here's the thing. Wolverine is my favorite. I 100% would be Logan in this movie though, for sure. I would be so frustrated with Deadpool after like 2 seconds. I'm very much a need to get things done kind of person. I'm just like him, just like milking everything, and it's like I would
Yep.
want to punch him in the face too. Oh my god! And then the only way to stop this machine is to create this turn across, and they do it holding hands, and his the top of his costume gets burnt off and just revealing huge jacked man.
I like how Ryan Reynolds too looks. And was like,
Of course
hmm.
he is, because Deadpool is a pansexual icon, and he wants some of that for sure. Which Hugh Jackman,
Hugh
Hugh
Jackman.
Jackman though, and then obviously we get the big hero moment, and then Mr. Paradox trying to like milk they were my friends, and then they up. And it's just like
To the Goo
you
Goo Dolls. No, nonetheless, I love that
yes.
moment.
Oh my god. Legitimately, the music supervisor on this film should get a truck full of money.
Yes, as
Just
100%.
dumped on their front porch because just this soundtrack was beautiful. It was so perfect. And then, you know, they saved the day. And Wade finally gets back. Like I wish that some of like the Deadpool characters got a little bit more to do in this. I'm glad that the one that really the shine though was Sugar Bear,
Yep.
which that was great. Wade
Every
gets
Deadpool
the
has a Peter.
girl. Yep. Logan gets his daughter, which
Yeah,
that would be so happy. So does that also mean that Electra, Blade, and Gambit are still alive too?
that was
Because
my implication that they all went back to the respective universes.
so what I'm gonna say is, if we are getting Secret Wars, I want to see that team again.
I don't think they introduced that team just for a one-off. I'm pretty sure they'll be back for a sequel. Well, I don't want to make this a Secret Wars conversation, but I don't think any of us are prepared for how massive Secret Wars is about to be. That film is going to be humongous.
Um, right now, this might be my favorite team. Because like because well, Wolverine and Deadpool alone together is enough to be like, this is my team. But the six of them were so cool together. That and it made me happy that like they legitimately got an arc. And like this wasn't just like randomly them popping up for 2 seconds.
Right.
This movie, I feel like has a lot more depth than people give it credit for.
Yes. Which, I mean, the first time you watch it, though, I'm watching I mean, most of us,
Yeah.
we're watching as fans, right? So we're going to miss some of the underlying things, what the movie is
Mhm.
really about, because we're just so wrapped up in the spectacle of it all, right?
Yep. Oh, and there's spectacle. There's blood, there's guts, there's limbs flying. There are quips flying with machine gun pace, left and right. I guess, Rod, what are some of the kind of as we're wrapping up here? What are some of the lines that really stood out to you that we didn't mention? And tell me why, please. No, it's not the camp counselor.
Oh, yeah, Scout Counselor Kevin.
It's like
I don't know.
he
I
went
think
there.
he went there. I think I got all of mine that I like. The Blade moment was hilarious. Um, the Gossip Girl joke really got me. I'm trying to think of anything from the stuff with Happy that I missed. I don't think so. Oh, there was that quick moment of like Happy being like, I found my place. You you're aiming for here. Find your place. Like right here, and wait, just like, what the hell?
Avengers. And like, I'm here.
Yeah.
Find your place. It just keeps going lower. And it's like the fact that Happy would think that he's up to Deadpool.
Well, I had that moment
Just
too of like, I mean, excuse me, us? I'm like Avengers adjacent.
yeah. Uh he is Avengers adjacent. But like Happy's doing like the ground level things.
There's a
It's like
couple of, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was about to say it's like the joke from Family Guy Blue Harvest where Joe pulls up. He's like, I got your sandwich. It's like, you're doing things. Doing that's happy. That's like happy.
I was a little surprised that the side characters we've gotten to know and love in the first Deadpool movies are pretty much shelved in this movie.
Yep.
So I was a little surprised by that. Like Colossus has one line in
Yeah.
this movie.
He had less lines than the one guy that they keep making the joke about not supposed to have lines.
Yeah.
And it's just like, are you ad-libbing?
Oh yeah. What's his name? Oh, he's from the why am I drawing a blank on his name, Shane?
I didn't get that reference, to be honest.
I am drawing a blank on his name.
Was like he in a Marvel show?
No, so he's from the first two Deadpool movies.
See, I didn't rewatch them and I didn't remember him,
Um,
to be honest.
yeah, he's from the first Deadpool. He's from the first two Deadpool movies. He's a part of the organization that Wade's a part of.
Like
You
the
know.
bar and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh, oh, Buck. It's Buck.
but it's like you're not supposed to say anything. And I did appreciate that Wolverine called him out for calling her blind Al.
Oh, well
Like,
then, because he does call her by her actual name at the end of the movie, which I liked a lot. I liked it. I think
yeah,
that's the first time he's done that in all three movies.
you call her blind? That's one of my favorite things about their dynamic is that like Wolverine's like the first person to actually call Deadpool out on his shit
Yep.
and has no bones about it because he could.
I like the
Oh
moment
man,
too. Where he's like, I don't remember with her name's Blind Allen, except she can see cocaine for some reason.
true for sure.
I do like how they didn't go fully into it, but that Wade and Vanessa did make up at the very end, and there's hope for them. Well, I do like. I think wrapping this up, saying like what I appreciate about this movie a lot, like I mentioned earlier, they drop nuggets of stuff to come, but this is a pretty self-contained movie.
It was a lot more self-contained than I thought it would be.
Yeah,
Like it brought in threads from Loki to continue like the TVA aspect of it, but like they didn't really lean on the TVA too much. It was like an isolated rogue agent.
right.
And I I really wonder if we're gonna explore the void ever again in another project.
Probably Secret
But
Wars, and they're probably done after that.
I wonder if that's where Secret Wars is gonna be. That'd
I
be
gotta think
interesting.
part of it will be. I think a lot of it might be held on Battle World. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. It all depends on how accurate they want to adapt
That's what I'm saying
things.
because they use the comic storylines as outlines for the most part.
Yep.
Like Civil War is nothing like the comic book at all.
No, I've read the comic, and
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
people
nothing like it.
die like legitimately.
A lot of people died in Civil War. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
So
and to be fair, they didn't have access to all this.
no, they didn't. They
No.
did not. But I mean, going back to Deadpool Wolverine, I do like how they like the whole thing with the anchor being right. That's gonna come back to play in the Avengers films for sure. Because there are theories that the anchor being in our universe, our sacred timeline, is Peter Parker. So that's the rumor that I've heard, or the theory is swirling around about who the anchor being could be. Um, because obviously it's not
Assumed it
Tony
was Tony
Stark.
Stark.
Yeah, obviously it's not Tony, right? Um,
Well, it could be because it's supposed to naturally end.
correct, natural. That's true. That's true. Unless between now and Avengers Doomsday Secret Wars, we get a big and Marvel death that's even bigger than Tony Stark, which
Uh, who?
well, here's the thing. Technically Cap is still alive.
Yep.
He's just
Well,
old.
and the thing is, are they going to set up a new universe to follow up with after Secret Wars? Because, like, and what does it mean if the Sacred Timeline dies?
That's the thing. There has to be major consequences in this movie because I my theory from this whole multiverse saga chain, and like wrapping up the multiverse saga is that this will be their soft reboot.
Mhm.
They'll transfer what the sacred timeline is to a different Earth or whatever, and we'll have a place where mutants and the Avengers coexist. And that leads into our mutant saga.
He'll probably be the one where, why did I forget what her superhero name is from the Marvels?
Oh, Monica
Where,
Rambeau. Yeah.
where Monica Rambeau is.
That's
Maybe.
my theory too after the Marvels. I was like, I wonder if that's what they're setting up here. So, because everyone thought Avengers 5 was going to be Avengers versus X-Men. I was like, it's too early for that. It is way too early for that.
Well, no, because how much longer do they have to wait before they can actually recast them?
They could do it now, I'm pretty sure.
Well, no, I thought that their contracts, like James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, and all of them, are still contractually obligated
Oh, no, no,
under
no.
their contracts
I think
with
you're right.
20th Century Studios.
I think for another year or two, I'm pretty sure, Shane. I
I thought it was
think.
2025. So like these movies have to start getting filmed now. So like
Well, yeah,
these are
they're gonna
big
start shooting
projects.
Avengers 5 next year. That's
Well,
without question.
well, it has to be because it's supposed to come out in May 2026.
Well, I think, and what I mean, I know we're gonna talk about this for coming attractions. I'm really curious what's because there's a movie coming out before Avengers 5 in February of 2026, and then what's taking place between Avengers 5 and Secret Wars, and are they all going to be prequels?
You know, we still got Doctor Strange 3 and Thor 5 to deal with, right?
And Spider-Man 4.
So, well, Sony's just like, you're going to deal with it.
Yeah, Sony's going to release Spider-Man 4 when they want to at this point.
Correct.
Um, because they have been trying to fast track this to come out next year. It ain't gonna happen unless it takes Blade's spot of like November, December, which
Well, it comes
Blade
out
ain't
in
never happening.
December.
But like if they want Spider-Man 3 to come out next year, like November, December, they gotta start shooting this thing like now.
Yep.
So
Maybe it is. You would know better. It's probably in Atlanta. But Rod, thank you for coming on and taking this deep dive into Deadpool Wolverine, which is making bank and making a lot of people happy.
it just feels good, Shane, to be back and talking movies with you. And at least it was nice for about 48 hours of all of us rejoicing in Marvel glory before Comic-Con happened, and now we're all back divided again. So
Well, people are seeking out violence and anger. But this was our spoiler talk on Deadpool Wolverine. Let us know what you think. What were some of your favorite quips? What were some of your favorite characters to pop up in the comments? But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.